Okay, let's jump right into this explainer. I want you to close your eyes for just a second and imagine the scene. You've just slid on a haptic VR headset, and instantly, you feel the actual temperature drop in your room. It's pitch black except for this harsh, rhythmic flashing of red emergency lights. You can physically feel the hum of a starship's engines vibrating right through the floorboards and into your boots, and there's this cold, metallic chill hanging in the air. We are diving deep into the sprawling, limitless immersion of the Infinitum virtual reality game today, specifically zeroing in on the absolutely incredible events of Session 16. We're going to treat this tabletop adventure exactly like the premium, high-stakes sci-fi thriller it absolutely is. So our heroes, a pretty plucky guild known as the Holy Crusaders, have just survived a self-destruct sequence and a crazy laser-blasting deathbot in the sci-fi server, only to be rescued by the legendary Starship Enterprise. But, as we're about to see, what awaits them next is a narrative twist so dark it's going to completely redefine their entire journey.
So picture this, with one party member missing and a haunting distress beacon echoing through the vast, empty void of the sci-fi server, the Holy Crusaders are about to face their deadliest, and honestly, without a doubt, their most tragic battle yet. The stakes have literally never been higher for this group. I mean, they are light years away from the comfortable, familiar cobblestone streets of the medieval server where they first started this whole thing out. They are total strangers in a strange galaxy. And the safety nets? Yeah, they are entirely gone. But before we get into the heavy combat and the devastating revelations that are coming up, we actually need to rewind right to the very start of the session, because a super crucial piece of the puzzle falls into place before a single blaster is even fired.
Right, so when the players log into their headsets to kick off the session, they immediately notice a glaring absence. Captain Dash 2 is completely missing in action. The group is understandably a little bummed out about it. They've been through the absolute ringer together, right? Everything from fighting goblin chieftains to outsmarting liches. But as any gamer knows, the real world often intrudes on our digital adventures. Another player, Willow, speaks up and lets the group know that Tempe, the real-life person who plays Captain Dash 2, is actually just visiting her mom and should be back the next day. It's a really sweet, grounding moment that cheers the group up a bit. But strictly in terms of gameplay, it leaves the group down their primary magic user, which is tough. However, this absence creates a massive, massive opportunity for another party member. Antonella, the fierce, brass dragonborn barbarian, decides it's time to step up to the plate.
So, here's the crucial point. Antonella decides to try her hand at something that has been frustrating the party for literally days. She takes back the unique magical upgrade. If you recall from earlier in the lore, this is an armor-only enhancement that they acquired through a massive cross-server quest involving that crystal violet rose. It's incredibly rare, like so rare that nobody else in the entire game has found it. Now, Captain Dash 2 had tried to attach it to her bracers previously, but was completely overwhelmed by the magical weave required to attune to it. It just wouldn't work. But today, Antonella just focuses. She taps into the raw, unyielding energy of her Dragonborn heritage, and suddenly, the magical upgrade begins to glow. Against all odds, she actually manages to attune to this mysterious item. If you've ever played an RPG, you know that absolute pure joy of finally unlocking a piece of gear that has been gatekeeping your party. It is a moment of genuine fist-pumping tabletop triumph.
The group immediately geeks out with excitement, and honestly, who can blame them? But now they have to figure out what this thing actually does. Antonella closes her eyes and starts experimenting. First, she simply thinks about where their journey began, the inn back in the medieval server, and instantly a shimmering portal rips open right in front of her, and the warm scent of wood smoke and stale ale literally floods the room. Astounded, she drops her focus and thinks of a place they've never even been, the fantasy server. The first portal snaps shut and a new one tears open, revealing the entrance to a brand new magical realm filled with a gentle, chiming breeze. It's wild. Then she focuses on their current location, the Starship Enterprise, and a third portal opens directly into the ship's mess hall, letting in the sterile ozone hum of the ship's life support. In just a matter of minutes, she is literally bending the very fabric of the Infinitum game, teleporting across completely different genre servers like it's nothing.
But as with all powerful game mechanics, there's always a catch, right? There are limits. When Antonella focuses for a fourth time to try and open another portal, nothing happens. The magic is completely spent. Through this brilliant bit of trial and error, and honestly, you just have to love the classic gamer methodology happening here, the group deduces the hidden mechanic behind the unique magical upgrade. It grants the user exactly 3 portals per day.
Realizing just how game-breakingly handy this is going to be for navigating these massive, expansive servers, they affectionately nickname it the Instaport Upgrade. Armed with this incredible new utility, the party is just riding a massive high.
Well, that high is abruptly cut short. The team heads to the bridge of the Enterprise, and the mood there is incredibly tense. Captain Kirk informs them that they've intercepted an emergency distress call originating from a nearby merchant ship. Now, Kirk is tactical and uncompromising here. He states plainly that he absolutely refuses to risk his own Starfleet crew on an unknown threat, especially with the hostile alien creatures they've been tracking recently. Instead, he turns to the Holy Crusaders and requests that they be the ones to beam down and investigate. Just picture this for a second. A group of medieval fantasy characters, still practically wiping goblin blood off their boots, are suddenly handed a deep space Starfleet rescue mission. Talk about being out of your depth.
Now, what's really interesting about this next moment is the incredible metagaming humor that unfolds. Kirk pauses his formal tactical delivery, looks at this group of elves, Goliaths, and Dragonborns wearing clunky heavy plate mail, and completely breaks character. He reminds them, with a bit of a wink, that hey, he's actually a human player too in the real world, and he gives them a fantastic pro tip. He tells them to head down to the ship's armory and equip cosmetic upgrades to make their gear look more futuristic. He insists it just makes the game more immersive. It completely shatters that heavy roleplay tension for a minute, reminding everyone that beneath all this epic lore, there are just actual humans sitting in VR headsets trying to have a fun time.
And they absolutely take his advice to heart. I want to spend a second here, because this genre-bending armory scene is pure, unadulterated joy. The players rush down to the armory and discover that pretty much every cosmetic sci-fi upgrade imaginable is available to them. Drindar swaps out the aesthetic of his classic wooden longbow, and suddenly, bam! He's gripping a sleek, high-tech blaster rifle. Barkin, the zealous barbarian, takes his heavy, brutal axes and skins them to look like vicious, curved Klingon botlets, just relishing their heavy, metallic heft. Volha and Zato, the paladins of the group, swap the appearance of their traditional broadswords for the elegant, humming glow of lightsabers straight out of Star Wars. And all that heavy, clanking medieval plate armor they rely on to survive, it's instantly transformed into pristine, white trooper armor. The mechanics of their gear remain exactly the same, their stats haven't changed an inch, but the flavor has completely evolved.
This brilliantly illustrates the visual shift of the Holy Crusaders. They walk out of that armory not as the medieval crusaders of the Fantasia Kingdom, but as bona fide galactic troopers. If you've ever spent hours in a game's transmog menu just to get your character's outfit looking exactly right, you know exactly how empowering this moment feels for the Crusaders. They finally look like they belong in the deep space environment. The visual storytelling here is top-notch, elevating the player's immersion and excitement right before they are thrown straight into the fire. But man, the excitement fades the absolute second they step onto the transporter pad. Captain Kirk beams them down to the merchant ship, and it is eerie. I mean, terrifyingly quiet. The metallic corridors are pitch dark, there's no hum of life support, no chatter of a bustling crew, just a dead silence that forces the players to ask the most chilling question of the session so far. What happened to the merchant ship crew? Every single step they take echoes. Every long shadow down the hallway feels like an imminent lurking threat.
And that silence doesn't last long. Without warning, the party is ambushed by a pack of aliens. But it immediately becomes clear these aren't the same creatures from before. Nope. Unlike the green, manageable aliens from Session 15 that had a medium hit point pool, these new blue variants are absolute damage sponges with massive health reserves. The hostility is totally dialed up to 11. The players are suddenly forced to rely heavily on every single ounce of damage their newly skinned blasters and lightsabers can dish out, frantically swinging and shooting just to keep these blue horrors at bay.
Pushing through that relentless blue alien assault, the Crusaders finally stumble into the boss room, and it is a scene straight out of a sci-fi nightmare. They've found the Hive. The room is hot, incredibly humid, and covered in this strange, gross organic resin. The air is thick with the visceral, sticky sound of shifting matter and the unnerving rhythmic pulsing of dozens of fleshy alien eggs just scattered all across the floor. And guarding them, right in the center of the room, is a grotesque, towering alien queen. The cinematic tension here is palpable. This isn't just a boss fight. It's a desperate struggle for survival against a maternal monstrosity protecting her brood.
The chaos of tabletop combat totally erupts, but the Holy Crusaders are seasoned veterans by now. They execute a flawless tactical breakdown. Step 1. Volha, the massive stone Goliath, and Barkin rush the Queen. Now, their job isn't to kill her. Her thick frontal carapace blocks almost all of their attacks anyway. Their job is simply to hold the line and absorb her terrifying onslaught. Step 2. While the queen is distracted, the rest of the guild goes to work ruthlessly destroying the pulsating alien eggs to prevent any reinforcements from hatching. Step 3. Once the brood is wiped out, they focus all their combined firepower on the queen to bring her down and secure their ultimate objective. It's a textbook strategy. But listen, planning is one thing. Execution is a bloody, brutal affair. The fight is an absolute meat grinder. The queen's bladed appendages and crushing weight prove almost too much to handle. Zato and Arya get caught in the crossfire and sustain severe, life-threatening injuries, pushed to the absolute brink of death. In tabletop terms, you can practically hear the frantic clatter of the dice here. Zato and Arya surviving literally came down to the wire. It is only through the desperate, clutch, healing abilities executed by Drundar and Valha at the very last second that they are pulled back from the edge. Finally, through sheer force of will, blaster fire, and lightsaber strikes, the queen falls. Her massive body crashes to the floor and the eggs are successfully destroyed. They did it.
And buried deep within the queen's severed head, they find their true prize, a crystal. This is huge because it ties directly back into the overarching macro narrative of Infinitum. The server-wide 10 Crystals event is the ultimate endgame. The tyrannical player Genghis Khan currently dominates the board with 7 of them. The Holy Crusaders had previously acquired 1, and now, by defeating the Queen, they have just claimed their second. Zato bravely steps forward and secures the crystal in his inventory, deciding it's best to split the crystals up among the party members to keep them out of Genghis Khan's hands. It is a massive, hard-fought victory for the team.
But as we move forward, let's see how this builds, because the tone is about to shift so fast, it will literally give you whiplash. The party immediately contacts Captain Kirk, victorious and proud, and they are beamed directly back to the Enterprise's medical bay for treatment. They expect the thrill of victory. They fully expect a pat on the back for a job well done. Instead, they walk right into a waking medical nightmare. Dr. Bones begins scanning Zato and Arya, the two who took the brunt of the Queen's attacks. His face goes completely pale. He looks at them with grave seriousness and delivers this chilling line. If I don't act soon, your entire bodies will painfully change into an egg. The injuries they sustained weren't just physical trauma. They had been implanted. They were impregnated with alien embryos. In a game context, this is absolutely terrifying. The players just went from feeling completely invincible, celebrating a massive boss kill, to realizing they are carrying a biological ticking time bomb. The body horror aspect of this session suddenly takes center stage. But the true horror? It isn't what's happening to Zato and Arya, it's the realization that hits the entire party a split second later. Think about it. If the alien queen reproduces by turning living hosts into eggs, then the room full of eggs they just spent the first half of the battle gleefully smashing apart, those weren't just alien spawn. The tragic twist is that those eggs were actually the mutated, transformed husks of the merchant ship's missing crew. The ultimate gut punch lands. The party's tactical masterstroke, their heroic clearing of the hive, was actually a massacre of the very people they were sent to save. From a Dungeon Master's perspective, this is an absolutely brilliant, devastating piece of campaign design. It turns the player's perfect tactical victory into a crushing moral defeat, and the guilt falling over the players at the table is immense.
The medical bay descends into tense, frantic action. Dr. Bones rushes Zato and Arya into surgery, performing incredibly painful, necessary extractions and injecting them with anti-mutants. It's a horrific ordeal, but he manages to cure them just in time, saving them from a fate literally worse than death. Captain Kirk enters the bay, seeing the sheer devastation on the players' faces. In a grim, somber tone, he assures the party that the crew they destroyed were already gone. There was no saving them once the transformation began. With no life signs remaining on the merchant vessel, Kirk makes the hard tactical call. Through the massive windows of the Enterprise, the party watches in silence as a volley of torpedoes streaks through the blackness, vaporizing the merchant ship in a cold, silent flash of light.
It's a seriously heavy narrative weight for a group that just hours ago was playfully dressing up in stormtrooper armor. In fact, it was so heavy that the actual human players sitting around their real-life table took a collective breath, paused the game entirely, and held a genuine moment of silence. They sat in quiet respect for the fictional NPC crew members they couldn't save, floating out there in the cold vacuum of space. And honestly, this is exactly why tabletop gaming is so special. When the storytelling is this good, the line between player and character completely blurs.
But Infinitum is a game of endless possibilities, right? And grief eventually gives way to staggering ambition. Seeking a much-needed distraction from the trauma, the party pivots their mood,
looking toward the horizon, and they ask Captain Kirk a burning question. How does a fantasy D&D guild get their very own starship? They don't want to just be passengers anymore. They want to conquer the stars on their own terms. They want their own ship.
Kirk gives them the hard truth, outlining two distinct paths. Path 1 is Starfleet Academy. Kirk explains he had to undergo years of rigorous in-game training and promotion grinding just to command the Enterprise, though he generously offers to put in a good word for them. But Path 2? Well, Path 2 is much more appealing to a band of seasoned adventurers. Cold, hard cash. Kirk explains that if they can grind together enough gold, they bypass the Academy entirely by purchasing a used non-Starfleet vessel. It won't have the vast firepower of the Enterprise, but it would be theirs. This instantly gives the Grieving Crusaders a massive, exciting new in-game goal to channel all their energy into. The grind is officially on.
Spirits finally lifted, the crew heads back to the Enterprise mess hall. They take the time to properly celebrate their hard-won crystal and their survival against the alien brood. With the session drawing to a close, Antonella fires up the Instaport one last time, tearing a portal through space and time directly back to Valhanga's private, secure server. Away from the unpredictable threats of the sci-fi universe and the constant looming shadow of Genghis Khan, the Holy Crusaders safely log off for the night, leaving their headsets behind and returning to the real world, letting the sheer relief of a safe zone finally wash over them.
So, what a ride, right? Session 16 was an absolute roller coaster, perfectly balancing hilarious metagaming and genre swapping with intense body horror and devastating moral consequences. The Holy Crusaders are growing stronger, but the game is getting exponentially darker. With a new, highly coveted crystal in their possession, the Instaport upgrade in their arsenal, and a used starship right at the top of their wish list, what corner of the Infinitum universe will they conquer next? Will they face down Genghis Khan, or will the universe throw an even deadlier twist their way? You're definitely going to have to keep exploring this incredible explainer of the source material to find out. I'll see you next time.